Okay, so I think that it's time, it's 9:30. So good morning, everybody, and welcome to CMC Connected Webinar. Today, it will be focused on BizMet, its educational program and project for SMEs and for the transformation to circular economy. And you will listen about our achievements and also what was done within the BizMet. And for today, our moderator will be our brilliant Peter Woodward. So what is yours?
Bless you, Martina. Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. It's great to be connected back into CMC, though always the frustration of being online rather than in person. And it's been my privilege to moderate the conference over the last few years. I'm looking forward to our conversation this morning. There's so much work going around related to circular economy activity. Brilliant ideas flowing in all directions, but the big challenge is once you get it in terms of circularity, that's just the starting point. You've got to then translate that into transformation, into business models, into business practice. As we know, some of the biggest companies around have whole teams who are actually working on this and are taking a lead. But as we know, the whole industrial infrastructure, consultancy infrastructure is made up of a mass of small and medium-sized enterprises. And the great challenge we're all facing is how do we help everyone to get it? And if they get it, how to practically convert that into changes within their practice, because basically everybody needs to be talking and walking circular now. So this morning what we're going to do is hear more about the BizMet scheme, educational program, very much targeted at SMEs active in the metal and recycling industry. Find out how this scheme has been set up and working to try and penetrate and support SMEs. We're going to find out how that's been set up, how it's working, and from that really draw some conversation about saying this is challenging, getting people to change the way they do business, particularly SMEs who often are just both at the cutting edge but also challenged in terms of time and resources to rethink things. So we hope from this we'll also be drawing out some lessons and thoughts about how we might intervene to support SMEs better and further in the future. This is a webinar, so I have a core of people who are going to offer some information and insights into the webinar. Those of you who are on the webinar, your method of connecting with comments, discussion, questions will be through the chat button on your Zoom screen, and I will be monitoring that very carefully. So do feel very positive about connecting in with questions or comments, particularly as the discussion develops. We're aimed to go through to 11 o'clock local time, but we'll see how we get on. I'll introduce the speakers one by one as they speak, so as not to have speaker introduction overload. But the basic flow is that we're going to learn about the BizMet scheme, and then I'm going to open up with some discussants I have with me who have direct experience of this. And that will open up to a broader discussion, both of learnings from BizMet and wider thoughts about the way forward. So we'll find that an interesting discourse. So first of all, some of you will be very familiar with BizMet, others will be aware of it. I'm delighted that we're joined this morning by Jutta Nuortila-Jokinen, who's coordinator of the BizMet scheme at LUT University. Jutta, great to have you with us, and you're going to start us off by really giving us the heads-up picture of all that is BizMet. So over to you.
Thank you, Peter. Firstly, I have to apologize that I'm having a very runny nose, but I think that we can survive in a way or another. Now I try to share my screen. In order to okay, why doesn't it go into the presentation mode? Okay, now you should have a full screen picture in front of you. So, what is BizMet all about? It was something like, well, a little bit over 3 years ago, we got this idea. And the idea originated from the fact that we have loads of metal and metal waste in many shapes. We do have a lot of SMEs out there who try to do business and they try to also invent something new. On the other hand, we do have loads of expertise within the academia as well as in companies who are already successfully doing things with metal waste. We know that there are new business models that are very related to circular economy, and these all came up as BizMet. And BizMet is actually a very practical sort of an educational program. So we try to combine the counterparts of the companies. So we are talking about lifelong learning, and also the academic degree students in a novel way. And what we came up with was sort of a community or platform, if you like, now when everything is circular. So circular economy includes the platforms. And and our idea was to connect different stakeholders in very different ways and also support them through all the actions. So we divided the BizMet project in few steps. And the first one was what we called the SME Academy. And in the first phase, we gathered with local SMEs and also other stakeholders, and we ran a workshop where we tried to figure out what are the worst hindrances, but also what are the drivers for these small and medium companies to transit into circular economy. And based on those ideas, we then created an online course. And this online course was open to everybody who was interested. You could do it in a way that you just got a diploma for completing it, or you could also include it in your degree programs in universities. And that was, of course, a very, very good thing, because students very seldom do anything if they are not credited for it. But we tried to keep the BizMet Academy, so the online course and the associated assignments, very practical, so that we really gave practical examples. There were interviews for large companies, key persons, to talk about different things on circular economy in metal-related industry. And we gave examples how you can do it, so how some companies have done it already. The development companies were also in our target group, because development companies, at least in Finland, they are regional companies that have a very close relationship with the industry in their region, and they are in a key position when when new ideas are fed in to the industry, and we wanted to be there as well. Um, then um, in the assignment, the students were working on five, in this case, in 5 cases, that the themes were derived from this SME Academy, where we brainstormed for these hindrances and drivers. And then the third stage is the second BizMet Academy, SME Academy, where these ready cases are then presented to companies. And it's an open event, and it actually happens only this afternoon. So it's still possible to register and hear what the students came up with. And then, of course, having the closing conference. So we were supposed to be in CMC in March, but we all know that Corona came, and now that doesn't take shape in the way we sort of were hoping for. But here we are. And what we try to do with this concept is to create value to every single part in this platform. So every participant in the platform got something that they benefited, either in their work or in increasing their personal knowledge and getting more getting more expertise and so on. And also the students, they were very motivated, because dealing with something practical, they are so used to um, dealing with mathematical models and something very textbook like. So we wanted to make this very different. And one of the aims was, of course, to raise an interest towards metal industry and metal recycling especially. And on the last thing, what we wanted to do was that we were there, as academic people who know quite much of the theory of the things. We wanted to be there to support the companies if they decided to go and really start their journey in the circular economy. We also wanted to be there if they wanted to be very serious and, for example, start actually doing something. So making common projects is one of those things that we can help with. So in a nutshell, this is BizMet, and the in principle this idea worked, but of course reaching out for the companies, especially when well, 93% out of the SMEs in EU, European Union, they are so-called micro companies. So companies that employ less than 10 people. And of course, having somebody to devote for a program like this takes quite a lot of resources. And that was one thing that we have to think now when we are facing the final stages of the project, where we have to also consider what is the future of this project. So how do we continue, and what are the new ways we are going to do it? And that is one thing that I would like you to give us hints during this discussion. That how do you think that we from the academia, how we can support you in practice? So what are the steps you want us to take, and how to make this co-work between you and us a fruitful one? So that's it. Thank you.
Okay, Jutta, thank you very much for just teeing up and framing our discussion. And clearly, a lot of conversations have been taking place through the programme. Hopefully, some of them really revealing some of the opportunities there are in terms of that connection, but also looking at some of the challenges and hindrances and barriers that people face. And just to enrich our understanding at this early stage, I'd now like to bring in Asja Mrotzek-Bloess, who's a research manager in the field of raw materials at the Clausthal University of Technology, been involved in this programme. And I think very much listening to what's been going on, and really, Asja, highlighting for us some of the biggest hindrances and opportunities of circular economy for SMEs. So, Asja, over to you.
Hey, thank you, Peter. Now, I try to share my screen. And okay, do you see it?
Perfect.
Perfect. Okay, yeah, my screen switched from one screen to another. That's a little bit disturbance, but okay. So I'd like to explain to you how was our approach to find out the biggest hindrances, opportunities of circular economy for small and medium enterprises, and of course, what are the results of our discussions. We started during the first steps of our project with the creation of local networks containing small and medium enterprises and other stakeholders. And we did this in Finland, Poland, Germany, and Sweden. And because of the background of the project, all stakeholders should be from the metal value chain. And then we conducted our workshops together with a lot of stakeholders, not all of them SMEs, I must say. Our objectives were that we give a little introduction, what is circular economy? Especially in Germany, we have a little bit of word irritations, because waste management and circular economy is in the German meaning more or less the same. So we have to explain it a little bit, but what is the European Circular Economy Action Plan? What are national or regional strategies in this field? And then we discussed with the stakeholders about it, and we identified the benefits and restraints and obstacles when it's come to implementing circular economy principles to the companies. And now I have a few results of this. First, for the network generation in Germany, we had the luxury that we have a local association. It's called ReviMet, and there we have combined SMEs, industrial partners, municipalities, business developer, and universities. And they are all working on this thematic focus on recycling and recovery of secondary raw materials. And together with them, we conducted expert interviews in late of 2018 and contacted around 76 companies. 67% of them were SMEs. And we must say most of them, about 70%, says, yes, the topics of BizMet, they are relevant. They're relevant for us, they are relevant for the society. But we also learned that especially small and medium enterprises and the very small companies, they just have other problems than taking care about circular economy. And to follow up these very quick steps that are happening at European level and at national level. And we saw it also at the participation at the workshops. we had a lot of discussions, yeah, that it's good, but I think we had around 7 or 10 companies, small and medium enterprises, that joined our workshop in Germany. Okay, going to Poland. There we had a seminar during the International Conference on Circular Economy in 2018. They had 12 participants with entrepreneurs and from the waste, electrical and electronic equipment sector. And this workshop was done as a training session with an introduction to circular economy and then with examples about the implementation could work and a teamwork about benefits and barriers for circular economy. And on the right-hand side, you see some of the benefits that were raised by the SMEs and companies. And of course, this is a reduction of the importance dependencies on natural resources, minimizing of overall raw materials, water and energy use, using of material loops, the development and improvement of recycling technologies, the increasing of the shared economy, and building up a positive eco-image and increasing also the life cycle approach in companies. But on the other hand, on the right-hand side, you have the barriers. And we see there are a lot of lack of, and this is something quite uncommon. We had this in Germany also, lack of definition of secondary raw materials, lack of requirements and terms about eco-design and eco-labeling, lack of sufficient technical and financial resources in companies and provided by our governments. A topic that we also discussed quite long in our workshop in Germany were higher prices of products from recycling materials compared to the prices from raw materials. So you have on the one side the insecurity about the acceptance of your product when it's done from secondary raw materials, and you have a higher price for this. And this is really difficult and a barrier for small and medium enterprises to join this field. Then we have the topic about awareness by the management staff. And here we will see it later on. Also, the lack of well-educated employees coping with topics of circular economy. And also the awareness by consumers. But I think in the last 2 years, we did a lot of work connected to this one. Going to Finland, there we had the workshop on the way to circular economy together with 32 participants from SMEs, regional development and the universities. And they conducted a SWOT analysis to this topic. And here we see similar topics. The participants see that circular economy is a driver that's very high in the agenda and in the society. And as SME, they saw the strength that SMEs have quick decision processes. When they have decided they could do a lot in a very short time. They hope for cost savings for raw materials. On the other hand, we heard a minute before that it's also combined with higher prices for the secondary raw materials. On the opportunity sides, we see the better utilization of site flows, the improving of operation efficiency, the use of digital services and of new products, services and businesses. And on the other hand, a point that was also raised in Sweden and in Germany and in Poland, it's the big point of producer responsibility. This is also a point that's difficult for small and medium enterprises, because what's coming there, what responsibilities do they have to do now and what's in the future? They see the changes in prices and the world market prices. And you have to invest in a technology and you have changes in the prices and also in raw materials quantity and quality. and you don't know if you reach in the future the right prices for your product, yeah, that's difficult and a barrier to turn into this market. Okay, then a few examples from Sweden. This workshop was not about the whole metal value chain, but it was focused on batteries from cars, so the lithium batteries. And here we had the workshop, and this was followed by a survey and interviews. And here it's also the companies from this battery sector. They need information about circular economy on batteries. Please keep in mind these workshops were conducted 2018 and early 2019. So in the following, we now have on the European level the European battery initiatives and other possibilities to be informed. Yeah, the companies are looking at back collection system of the car batteries. I know that we are not so in this market now, but in Germany we have problems with burning treatment plants that taking back batteries from other systems, not from cars, but from bicycles and so on. And these lithium-ion batteries, there are a risk for treatment companies. And also here we have the producer responsibility. What's about producer responsibility for a second or third life of these batteries? What about the new battery directive? What kind of obligations can come up to the recycling companies? And all these, yeah, are really barriers for the company. The lack of knowledge and also the uncertainties of the futures. And we had around 130 topics raised up in these different workshops, and then we clustered and we found the technological issues, new or improved recycling technologies. This is an opportunity for most of the companies, inefficient use of natural resources, the lack of technical resources, and the efficiency of resource and energy efficiencies. These were topics that was raised in the field of technology issues. Then the economic side, yeah, the market share of old and new sustainable products. We had companies, they said, from the smaller ones, yeah, we are working quite good in our niche, but when we are going here with new sustainable products, are we accepted? What the big companies doing then? Do we have a chance to go into a new market? And what will be the financial impacts of these changes? A big point are the world market prices, especially in the field of metals, and also the market demand, in brackets, the market acceptance of new products. In the field of legal issues, the producer responsibility, and also the lack of definitions and requirements. What kind of specification have I to meet with my new product? And another big topic was the field of sustainability. Most companies would like to contribute to the Sustainable Development Goals. Not all of them knows that there are goals you can contribute to, but they know we have to go to a more sustainable world, and they would like to contribute, and looking up tools for LCA and for reporting of non-financial issues and so on. And the big topic there is also social awareness and the acceptance of maybe products from secondary raw materials. So I hope I could give you a short insight into the field or the insecurities of our partnering companies. Thank you.
Asja, thank you very much indeed. And just, I think, to let everybody know, I think the slides as presented, which have got a richness of information on them, I think will be made available with the permission of the speakers following this event. Well, it just goes to show that we are in the midst of a complex transition phase. Not only is the market not well developed, we also have SMEs who are often at an early stage of understanding about the true opportunities and value within circular economy. So all sorts of challenges and hindrances. Before we open up that further discussion, I'd like to bring in Martina Petranikova, who's from Chalmers University of Technology, looking perhaps a little bit wider. We've seen this BizMet concept, which is very much trying to engage with key people within SMEs, helping with their professional development, as well as connecting into the infrastructure and web of people who are involved in transition. Everybody is trying to accelerate this transition, but the hindrances and barriers we find are very familiar and very real. So Martina, great to have you with us, and would be interested just in one or two of your thoughts as to whether the sort of concept that BizMet is testing, is this the way forward? Or what lessons do we really need to maybe discuss in a little?
Okay, thank you very much. I hope that I will be able to answer the most important question, if we really can help, if BizMet can help the companies in their transformation to circular economy. So I will try to share my screen. And you should see it in a few seconds. Okay. Okay, so as Peter said, we all have heard what BizMet is about, and then also what problems it encountered and hindrances on the way to circular economy. And my task is actually to answer the question, can we really help? And since the BizMet is educational program and project, as a good teacher, I should share with you the information from the most reliable sources nowadays in Twitter, but at least it's a Twitter of European Commission. And I just wanted to show you that the life learning education is still very important after the formal education, and it's used by many, many employers in European Union. So for example, in 2016, almost 45% of people in age between 25 and 64 took this informal education and training provided by their employers. And it was almost 34% of that in 2016 provided. So this education is very important, and like development of the employees and personal development is very important for everyday life of the companies. But it is even more important when this company needs to take a different direction, or if it is forced to change a different direction. And what is then the most important for such transformation? It is the time, which we don't have usually. And if we need to save this time and if we need to use it effectively, then we have to have relevant information for that. And if we need to change and if we have to transform our business, then we also need to have a good strategy. And to develop the strategy, we need the resources. And then, of course, we need also a network. And all of that BizMet can sort of provide, or can help to provide, because if we are going about the time and saving the time, BizMet is offering an online courses, which can save a lot of time, where companies don't need to actually organize a special training days for their employees, but it's one click away. So it's a comfortable access to those courses. Since BizMet is focused on the metal recycling and also metal production, then the focus is more specific. So the time to find the proper information and relevant information is also saved. And as Jutta mentioned before, we had many experts involved in BizMet from the larger industrial companies. So then BizMet is also offering free expertise to build the strategy, but also save the resources. And when it comes to the resources, also we can have that we sort of provided also a free labor, because we had many students working on the assignments for the companies. And then if the network should be developed, then we also organize many workshops, as you could see, where this network could be built. So if we need relevant information and time and save the time, then I can show you how the modules and how the online courses looked like within the BizMet. So as you can see, we had 5 modules, and the information was really concentrated. And as like for us, for teachers, it took a very long time to build the lectures, but for the employees, it can take maybe 45 minutes or half an hour to read about some topic. So then it's a huge save in a time, and it's a very relevant and focused information. So we, for example, had the whole module focused on, in general, on a circular economy, then in more focus on a circular economy in metal production. Then also we had the whole module with the lectures and information about the environmental management in metal recycling and metal production. We also had module focused on the business in metal recycling and metal production. And of course, what is very important nowadays and always will be is the EU legislation related to circular economy and metal recycling. So all of that information is compacted, it's available as an online course. So you get the relevant, or companies get the relevant information, and they save a lot of time. And then also, as I mentioned, what is needed are resources. So for BizMet 1, there were no fees to attend the BizMet Academy. So it was for free. We are actually now preparing a strategy how BizMet will continue in the future. So maybe there will be some fees related to attending the Academy, but that is not clear yet, and it will be clear in a few months. And also we had the sort of free labor by involving many students. And we had a free expertise because we had, as I said, many industrial partners, and we had people from the big industries with a lot of experience helping us and giving us advices on specific topics. We, for example, had an interview with Christer Forsgren, who is from a Stena Metal company, and we had an interview on the extended producer responsibility. So he was talking about the environment, European environment, also Swedish environment. So if you're interested, you can get really relevant and very specific information just in 30 minutes of this interview. So that's how we provided expertise within BizMet, but also we had many students, like we have per assignment, we had from 5 to 6 students working on the assignment for almost more than 200 hours. So it's a lot of work focused and to help the company to solve some problem. We also had experts from academia, which provided not only their expertise, but also supervision of the students. So the companies themselves, they don't need to supervise the students alone, but they also get a help from the academia, which will emphasize the outcome. And also our students were students from the relevant field. For example, from Chalmers, we recruited students from the course of waste management. So they already came with a lot of knowledge about the materials and also about the waste management and metal production and metal recycling. So if we combine all that together, we get then BizMet is providing relevant information, it is saving the time, it is also providing free resources. So together with all of that effort, we actually can help the company to build a strategy for the transformation. And also I should mention something also very important, which BizMet can and provided sort of in BizMet 1, that the BizMet is involving 4 huge countries with a lot of industrial environment. So then actually together we can build and we can help build a network, but also we can share the experience, and maybe we can also help to create the business models all together, or start the companies. If companies are participating at the workshop, they can start a new cooperation. So I would like to thank, and we shouldn't forget to thank to EIT Raw Materials who were supporting this project, and then we can continue in discussion how to go forward. Thank you very much.
Martina, thank you very much. A very clear exposition of really what the program is about and the opportunity it presents. What I'd like to do now is really begin to open up the discussion. So if people have questions or comments they would like to feed in, then please use the chat box in Zoom, and I will attempt to look down as we go through. But I'm delighted we're joined by 3 discussants, really, to add something more to our conversation. We've heard a presentation of different dimensions of BizMet, but there's nothing quite like speaking to people who have actually been directly involved at the front end of going through the program. And I'd just like a brief word from a couple of them. First of all, Henrik Lidman, great to have you with us. You're from Befesa ScanDust, so one of the SMEs in the metal industries world that is trying to be part of the transformation and reprocessing, and you yourself went through the program. So Henrik, great to have you with us. Maybe just a few brief comments as to your experience of being involved with BizMet.
I did the training, as you said, Peter, and I really enjoyed doing it. I learned quite a lot. I've been working in this field of recirculating material for a long time, but still I got a lot of new ideas, and also, of course, being more obvious about the complex situation that we have regarding this issue in many different areas. We work in a small we work in a small area of this circular economy, but still we can do more. We can recirculate more metals out of the products that we work with, and when we can do it in a more efficient and environmental good way. So I think also this training also opened up a better communication with the universities like Chalmers, for instance. That's good for us.
Yeah, and I'm interested, I mean, did you enter into this program because in a sense personally you're kind of committed to professional development and thought, well, this is a interesting thing to do? Or I'm just interested whether there were distinctive reasons why you committed to this program.
Yeah, it's both personal and of course on the professional level. Actually, it was one of my younger colleagues who works with the production process at our company. He got the invitation from previous communication with Chalmers. So he sent it to me and said, this is probably something for you, because he know I'm eager to learn new stuff. So it was great.
Right. And if you had an observation, because obviously we've heard the pressures on SMEs, it's enough challenge doing business in the current world without trying to be part of a reinvention of the whole processes, etc. If you had an observation on how the BizMet approach might be improved or might attract more people to be engaged with it, what would your comment on that be?
Tricky to say. It's difficult to say, because I'm one of the guys who jumped on this one when I saw it.
Yeah.
It's very complex. It's in a foreign language for many people, English, and of course if you're afraid of the academic world, then it might be some obstacles. So,
Right.
but I personally I don't see it. So it's difficult to say. But it's I think we heard it in the sessions that some of the smaller companies, we're a mid-sized company, they don't have perhaps the power and they don't have the time to follow this kind of thing, courses. But I think they should do, but it might be a problem.
Right. Okay. Well, I'd like to stay with the conversation and wave a hand as if you want to further intervene. I'd like to bring in now, we heard that work had been done as part of this program in Poland, and particularly with a cluster of Polish SMEs involved in the metal processing industries. And I think we have Agnieszka Zdanowicz from Wiceprezes Zarządu, Deputy CEO, who was very much involved in this program as well. Agnieszka, are you with us? And would you just like to offer a couple of observations from your experience of involvement in this program?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. It's very nice to be here with you, and thank you for this opportunity. For me, it's a very new idea. I'm really fresh member of the cluster, and so it's a brand new project for me and for my work. But of course, we have some observation and some common goals which we can provide together. For us, it's very important because we think that in Poland the main goals, the main problem are this solution which are dedicated to the education. We strongly need to grant work. It's very necessary in Poland. We daily work in our companies on the solution and cases. And we're trying to work on the new business models in our company, but it's for us. We see that very important thing that it's a good education system in this area. We need to strengthen the skills of employees in the fields of recycling and circular economy, of course. And it's necessary to introduce this topic as professions. So that's why this program it's really important for us. And we as well as we need to work about the level of technical secondary school or dual education, because now we have, as a cluster, we are one of the main cluster in the Poland on the national level, key national cluster, dedicated to the circular economy and recycling and, of course, waste management issues. And as this organization, we are running easily campaigns through the Recycling Academy, our own brand, where we do the free conference, webinars, training for the cluster members, but not only. That's why, because we see that this gap in the Polish education in this case, and this necessary to the groundwork. So it's my opinion in our cooperation, and the possibility to use this program to manage it.
Okay, thank you very much, and do stay in the conversation. And if although I can't see you because I think you're not on video,
Yes, I'm sorry. I have a problem with connection, so I think that it's better to stay without the video.
Just shout if you want to intervene again. All right. So I just got one other discussion to bring in as we develop the conversation. Victor Westergård, who's from Chalmers, and you're a innovation advisor, really trying to work out that bridge between amazing research activity through to delivery of impact within SMEs. Victor, you've been following the conversation this morning, and I'm sure you've been connected into BizMet. Just interested whether you have any kind of key observations on kind of what's going on here. I look in and I worry that I can see that there's a huge job of work to be done here, amazing opportunity, and yet somehow we're just only scratching the surface of what needs to happen if we're to achieve this transformation. Victor, I wonder whether you'd just like to add some comments in.
Yes, thank you, Peter, for that introduction. And it's been a very interesting following the presentation of this project. As an innovation advisor, I work with kind of trying to bridge the research and education activities with actual impact in the society. And the first observation I can make is regarding what is the SME perspective and the SME driver. We're starting off from this kind of societal perspective of need for circular economy, and we're looking into what are the hindrances, what are the barriers, but we're not really looking from the SME perspective, what is their driver? How can we incentivize them? How can we find business drivers for them to actually engage with these learning tools? And I also think transformation is scary. It's scary for everyone. And we're talking about huge transformations here. And maybe we need to turn the perspective around on that subject and think around working with sustainability and working with these tools towards circular economy is actually a way for the SMEs to avoid future transformation and to engage to kind of position themselves in the future. So in some ways we get quite caught in kind of trying to forecast the future, trying to forecast the regulations and adapt to that. Whereas maybe we should focus on, from the SME perspective, where do I want to be in the future? So I think it seems to be a very good knowledge base, but maybe we can refocus the perspective towards the SMEs.
Thank you very much for that, Victor. I'm very interested in this thought about the business driver. And I maybe just come back for a moment to Henrik, because just to get a comment that maybe one of the challenges is I am dealing with the immediacy of my business this month, next month, this quarter, this 6 months, and the amount of space to kind of dream dreams and look much further forward is maybe limited. I need to see the business case for me being directly involved now. I just wonder, Henrik, whether that's a barrier that we really need to think about, is how do we make this feel relevant to the business today rather than sort of future planning?
I think one of the obstacles that we have sometimes in our business is that we convert byproducts from our customers, that is stainless steel ones, to recirculate high alloyed metal. But when we take care of the material, it's classified as waste or hazardous waste, and that doesn't sound so sexy or so nice. But we want to call it byproducts, for instance. So when we recover stuff, or very important things for the circular economy, of course the classification or the vocabulary is not so nice to call it waste when it's actually metals in our case that we work with. And of course, you all know the old scrap yards that we have had for many hundreds of years. It's not also the most sexy things to work with, perhaps, on a scrapyard, but now it's the main part and has been for the steel industry for a long time. A circular way of handling metals and alloys in a good way. So your question, Peter, is I think it's the way society and also authorities manage and talk about these issues. I think we have to change our way of doing that in a certain way. So some of the authorities, like in our case, they want to call us waste handlers. And of course, we wanted to call us a company that recirculates metal. So
yeah, so interesting.
There's in the future, not to call everybody waste handlers, to make it more optimistic or positive for circular economy.
That's quite interesting. So a whole rebranding of the whole section, that we are an amazing solutions-based reprocessing industry offers us a possibility. I'm just maybe get a comment from either Jutta, Asja, or Martina. I'm just wondering whether we're victims of a moment in time that all the playing field is still incredibly weighted towards the status quo. Governments and all the rest of it are just beginning to bring in sort of incentives for processing, etc., and reprocessing materials. But this is the most difficult time, because we know where we want to get to, but the status quo still seems to be the game in town, and the business model is still the old business model. I'm just interested whether we sort of feel we'll look back on 2019, 2020 and say, look, we just have to hang on in there. It is going to change in the next few years. Keep going, hang on in there, and it will change. Suddenly the floodgates will open. Or am I being slightly optimistic? Jutta, do you want to offer a comment on that?
Yes, well, well, you are quite correct in that respect, that the common world, as we know it today, it is built for linear economy, and that is one of the things which makes it hard for a company to transfer into circularity, and it is especially hard when you are a small player, because we runners, they have money, they can sort of invest money from their linear operations into the development of the circular business things, and it doesn't ruin their economy, and but if we think, and they also have people to do this change. If we are then looking at these micro companies with less than 10 people, which there is 93% of these 250 million SMEs in EU. Of course, not all are in metal business, but just to give you some kind of a quantity. First of all, there is the CEO, and the CEO can't do everything. They don't have resources, they don't have people, they don't have money, they don't have time, because they are totally involved in their daily business. And now it is good to, even though you talk about that they will achieve a competitive advantage if they start doing these new things now, and they might even try something, but then they get disappointed because of what Asja was mentioning about this price question. So if you do an object from a secondary raw material and you have a very cheap China thing in beside it, So what does the customer? Customer says, okay, that's twice as expensive. I buy the cheaper one. So then they just quit. They see that, okay, it doesn't pay off. And it's about so many things. It's about the customer behavior. It's about the legislation. It's about taxation. It's about government procurement. So there are many things that influence, and I think that the small companies, they do have this interest in trying to do something differently, but somehow the time is not right. So it might be that in 5 years we look back and say, well, it was too early in 2020, and then just things start to happen. Well, that's my interpretation about the situation.
Right. Okay. I'm going to throw a specific opportunity example to you, and I just am interested to see whether the BizMet approach, if we were evolving it to take it forward, there might be opportunity. So I've had a comment in here from Nanoscientifica Scandinavia. Says we're a spin-off company from Chalmers, working in the shaped noble metal and alloys nanoparticles, where we use recycled metals as source. We've been facing problems to find partners that can provide recycled noble metals or their subproducts, salts, etc. We've been struggling to refocus our business. So there's an SME saying, how are we as an SME, how can we as an SME take advantage of the BizMet network? So there you are. We have someone saying, help, who would like to come back and sort of offer a grappling hook to Nanoscientifica Scandinavia. I need Jutta or Asja or Martina to jump in at a rate of knots. This is a hot opportunity.
Well, this is exactly a hot opportunity. I do agree. Hard question. No, the thing is that in BizMet we have been trying to create the connections between different kind of partners. However, your question here is so specific that the only thing I can think of is that we can provide you with the information on the companies that belong in our network, and then you continue from there. But maybe Martina or Asja have some better ideas.
Yes, maybe. Of course, we have our BizMet network and we are working close together in it, but we are also part of a bigger network. That's the EIT Raw Materials. And we started, I think, 3 weeks ago, the European Raw Materials Alliance, where also a lot of partners joined. So I think if you're looking for partners from the raw materials sector, it could be good to contact also, maybe Victor could help there, the huge network of the EIT Raw Materials. There's the website where you find all the partners. So maybe this could also be a way to look at the EIT Raw Materials network than at our smaller BizMet network, because we were from the part of, or looking from the view of education on this. And that's just a remark to this.
Okay.
Maybe I can add exactly to this example that if I remember correctly, at the Polish workshop in Poland, we actually had a partner who was sending their products for the recycling of noble metals. So maybe we could actually help with some contacts, at least to this company, which maybe has some suppliers of the recycling, and just connect those recyclers to you.
Okay. Excuse me, that's helpful. I might bring Victor in just a moment. I just wondered, as I look in, I kind of see that a business has a thought or a need or whatever, and they sort of, it's a bit like going to university. There's campuses, there's opportunities, there's modules, there's potential networks. I knock on different doors. I'm just wondering, is there a possibility within the BizMet model that if someone like Nanos Scientifica Scandinavia said, hello, we think we could need some help, suddenly a squad of people embraced them in their arms and said, right, we're going to have some sessions with you to really understand your business, and we are going to then be the connectors into the network and possibilities. So in a sense, rather than seeing modules and a range of, you know, learning and all the rest of it and the potential of networks, you almost super support individual SMEs who have the motivation to move in this direction. Is that, I'm just intrigued as to whether, so you, once someone raises a hand in the air, you really kind of reach out and make it as easy as possible for them to analyze and make the next steps. Victor, I don't know whether you want to just offer a thought on that as a kind of approach in terms of once there's a motivation, really kind of super supporting. Is that a way of really getting people into the tent? I don't know. Have a thought on that.
I can just agree what Asja said about EIT Raw Materials, because that is an established network to really work with innovation within the raw materials value chains. So I think that is really the contact point. And there they have a large network of over 300 companies and universities across Europe.
I'm just wondering whether, I'm just taking you a step further, just to think whether it's fine that, okay, there's the network and see how you get on. But I'm just wondering, as we are putting public resources into a scheme like BizMet, whether there is a way of almost providing that further tuned support service, rather than just saying, well, there's a network available. You know, if we had, I don't know, the possibility for 100 SMEs to get supercharged support. I'm just wondering whether that gets us over some of the barriers that the SMEs have.
Peter, that was exactly what our aim was in the beginning. So that was our idea, that through BizMet we could get this contact, this network of companies, and while we would identify their problems, we could be able to help them, taking them by the hand and walk them through.
Right.
So that was the idea. It was just that we didn't have this Nanoscientifica Scandinavia AB telling us that they want some help. So obviously there is a problem in how to get these companies involved. How can they find us?
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe I can also add that if you remember my presentation, I said that we had 6 students working on the assignments for more than 200 hours. So actually you can get sort of a team of 6 people helping to solve some problem and also find another contacts. So.
Right. Well, let's hope that if nothing else to this call this morning, that Nanoscientifica Scandinavia, if you look out of the window, you'll see that even now, people from BizMet are charging up the path to provide you with that welcoming, warm support. Can I just ask another, please, if you're on the call and you'd like to offer an observation or some chat or ask a question, please just add it into the chat. I'm going to ask a provocative question because I can, and this is one probably to Asja, Martina, Victor even, and Jutta. I'm just intrigued as to whether universities and academics have a kind of certain mindset and doing, you know, amazing research, blah, 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 all the rest of it. and just interested, we're all trying to get SMEs to think differently. I'm actually quite interested to know whether actually we need to be doing more work within our academic institutions to retool the understanding, outlet, skill set, nous about SMEs, so that we are even better attuned at supporting people delivering stuff in the real world. Is there a, I don't know, is there a sort of something about the sort of whole academic world which needs, as they sometimes say, wake up and smell the coffee? I know there's huge research and activity and spin-off businesses, but do you think there's more work that needs to be done within our amazing academic institutions to get them closer to where the real business sharp end is? Who would like to comment on that? Martina, would you like to comment on that?
I think that what is needed to be done and what at Chalmers we are doing is to do really relevant research. Because if you do the relevant research and you are trying to solve the problems of the companies which they have today or which they will have in the future, that you sort of foreseen their future problems, then actually what is happening is that they are coming to you. And this is also happening to us, that we do the research in a specific field, and then companies are coming to us because they see that they are going to have those problems and they will need our solutions for their problems in the future. So I think that's the one way how it can be done.
Right. Jutta, would you want to comment on that as well?
Yeah, I do agree with Martina. That is one very relevant way to do such research, that the companies are really seeing that they need it. The other approach is to partner with companies, so that you are so closely involved with the companies that you know exactly what they need, and you sort of make tailor-made research for them,
Yeah.
but which also then has a more general application, and that's what we do quite a lot in LUT.
Right. Right. I just wonder, Henrik, whether from you had experience of this, whether you as a businessman, whether you had said not felt intimidated, but in terms of the way the whole thing was set up, whether you found that sort of entering into what was a sort of academic world driven program created any particular barriers or inhibitions for you, or did you swim happily in this pool, Henrik?
I was swimming happily, Peter. No, I think it was perfect, and also like this Nano Scientifica company, we also, as I said earlier, I think we might have some good contacts with Chalmers, so we can perhaps look into some areas that we have some problems in our business, or some scientific research that can help us in the future, long term, with some of the methods we are working with. So it has been really useful in many terms, both educational and also that we see some opportunities to work together with the university in Gothenburg a bit more, perhaps.
Okay. Do keep any questions or comments coming in.
I have one. Yeah.
Please.
I just, to sort of show that this networking is already working, we got a message from Matt for Green Tech, which can help actually also Nano Scientifica. So that's it. Great.
Wow. Yeah. I'm just wondering, as we move forwards, we only got a few minutes on this call, but if you were advising government, so public finance, there is an increasing commitment to move towards a transition to a circular economy. The next 5 years are going to be critical. we're obviously dealing with COVID and all the rest of it, so it's not an easy world. But if you were advising those who deploy resources, who are saying, yes, we need SMEs to be really engaged in the transformation across Nordic countries, would you be advising saying, oh, well, you know, same resources, keep it going in and we will see where we get to? Or would you be suggesting anything different? And I'm struck, I moderate a lot of these sessions, and the big issues are the transition seems to be going too slowly and it's not going at sufficient scale. I just wondered if we had any big ideas that were really going to shift the tectonic plates, really shove things significantly forward, whether you would have a message in a sense to those who provide funding to support transition. It's either it's business as usual, or it's put a bit more in, or it's do something really significant. I just wonder what that message would be to those who are in a sense supporting this transition process. Jutta, could I start with you?
Sure. As I said, in many, if we are talking about the secondary, the use of secondary raw materials in general, we have seen that in countries like well, Australia, far enough from us here in the Nordic, but they have, for example, in their construction regulation, they require that a certain amount of the construction material must be recycled. And that is a regulation, which means that their increase of utilization of secondary raw materials is increasing because it's the law. So in the beginning, when you start the transition, you must have some kind of an authority guiding you. As I said earlier, there are these front-runner countries that can foresee that, okay, I can see that my customer needs something like that in the future, and I want to be ready, and I want to fulfill all the sustainability and circular economy demands in what I provide to my customer. But then there is the rest, right. and somehow I think I say it very naughty, but they need a kick in the ass. So something that pushes them to do something, and
Right.
and regulation and taxation, as well as the public procurement is or are those aids that by which you can start the process. Then it's because you get used to doing something, then it just evolves. But right. There has to be the first.
Okay,
step.
Thank you for that. So that's really saying, look, really focus on creating a playing field within which secondary materials can have a legitimate place. So it's at the moment people are almost doing it despite rather than because of the system. So make the system incentivize or disincentivize the wrong things. Okay.
Yeah, what Henrik said, I think that's very true, because secondary raw materials are not always called secondary raw materials, they are waste, and that sounds bad.
Right.
So there are these kind of things as well.
Okay. Asja, did you want to offer a thought into my challenge about as we move forward? What would be the big message, to the big idea to really shove things significantly forward?
I must say, in Germany, we are doing a lot. As Clausthal University, we are now the scientific chair of our new National Resource Forum. And there are, I think, 7 ministries of Germany connected to this, and we are trying to bear down the barriers between the Ministry of Environment and the Ministry of Construction and so on, because often they are not going the same direction. That's on the national level. And I must say, in the field of recycling, we had in the last years national funding around programs around 200 million euros or more. And looking at the next lower level in Lower Saxony, where we are situated, we are talking now about our own circular economy action plan, because we will need this statement from the politics so that the municipalities could do something. Because the municipalities and the one who are acting on behalf of them, they need the statement from the politicians and the ministries. So we are there in close contact to this. And at the more regional level, we conducted a model region to go on the way to a more circular economy, and now starting hopefully first the waste of electronic and electric equipment, and then starting with new business models. We are creating together with our waste management company an app about how to decide as consumer what to do with my electronic equipment and so on. So we are working at the side of the administration, the politicians, and so on, at the regional, the more regional, and also the national level, and trying to force them a little bit
Right.
in the circular direction.
Okay. I just wonder, Victor, whether you'd just like to come in with your big idea for transition at scale and pace. Because I'm worried that we're sleepwalking a little bit here. We're doing the best we can, but it feels as though it's happening at the margins rather than at the pace and scale it needs to happen. Victor?
Yeah, and I mean, relating also to the previous questions, the university has a potential to actually more active engage as change agents. And when it comes to SMEs, they obviously have a limited capacity to do this change internally, but there is potential to integrate with regional programs, with the science parks, to work to actually transform this knowledge generated into actionable changes.
Right.
So, I mean, changing the playing field, that's great, but I think that's a bigger question in this project, and we can work within this project and actually work more active as change agents.
Okay, thank you very much. And really maybe, I'm just a quick one, again, maybe to Henrik. You talk about rebranding. I did quite like this idea that, you know, maybe this is, you know, we should call this the beautiful business. You know, it used to be, you know, fashion in Scandinavia, all the rest of it. Maybe this is the sunrise, beautiful business world. These are noble people who are creating a solution for the future. I just wondered, as you set that one running, Henrik, who are the people who should drive that thought of rebranding, and could somehow, as part of the BizMet, something happen there?
I was thinking when Asja was talking about Germany, the Swedish Environmental Protection Agency, Naturvårdsverket in Swedish, they should be involved in the discussions that we have today, because they can, of course, make a difference, because they set the legal, together with the EU, the legal requirements, what is waste and what is a byproduct, or and they can make a difference quite quick if they change the legislation, for instance.
Right.
But they're not involved in these discussions. Then perhaps they're not invited, or I don't know. But of course, companies can also drive it, but that takes a longer time.
Yeah. Okay.
To change the
It's
way of
interesting.
doing things.
Yeah, interesting. I know I'm moderating the network of European protection agencies conference in December, and I know that circular economy is one of the areas where we are exploring how environmental protection agencies can really have more of an influence. So that might be an interesting, I might seed that idea to them. Okay, we're almost out of time. I mean, hopefully for everyone, you've learned a little bit more about BizMet. We've seen the huge opportunity, but goodness me, we've also seen the barriers and the challenges. 2020 is a tough moment in transition, particularly when you add the whole layer of COVID-19 and how we are trying to ensure our economies survive and maybe recover better. I'd really like to just pass the final word back to Martina as you kicked us off this morning, just whether there are a couple of reflections from what you've heard through the discussion and maybe a word to everybody as they are thinking about either engaging with BizMet or trying to be part of that transition for SMEs towards circularity. So Martina, the final word over to you.
So I would like to first maybe thank everybody for today and for their participation. And I think what is important is to get connected and get involved. And academia will try to support SMEs and also everybody who wants to change to circular economy. But I think that especially recyclers, they should be recognized, because without recycling, there won't be any circular economy. So I think that's what we should take away with us today.
Okay, Martina, thank you very much to all of you who've engaged with this session this morning. Thank you very much for your participation. I do hope we may meet sometime soon with the CMC Live, but we've got a further webinar coming up on the 4th of February in 2021. So stay connected. Thank you very much indeed for your involvement. Keep doing it and stay safe. And no doubt there's amazing work taking place right across both academic institutions and among many SMEs. And we just hope that as we join the dots, we turn from being the exception into becoming the rule in terms of how we are organizing business in supporting our needs in society. So from me, thank you all very much for your participation and hope to see you sometime soon. Thank you very much.